What's up, guys? It's the Four Horsemen Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Josh Romine. With me tonight, I got Alex Deviney Stoner out there. What up, dude?
Hey, how's
Hello.
it going?
Great. I got Brent Ocker. How are you, Brent?
I'm doing great. We're going to talk some football.
So I'm talking about.
Oh, shit. Is that
well,
what this podcast is about?
This time,
Oh, okay.
for sure. So
Thought
get
this
ready.
was a soccer one. Okay.
I'm trying to introduce Joshua Van Cleve.
I'm sorry.
Joshua, how are you?
Who?
Beautiful. Oh, yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what that's from. I've never heard it before.
Oh, wasn't that in
Ferris
isn't that in
Bueller's
Ferris
Day Off.
Bueller? Yeah. I don't know who sings it, but it's like some like Swedish like duo, in the 80s. You get those
you
like
not-
Nordic.
Have you not
Yeah.
seen that movie?
I've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but it's been like 10 years.
Man,
I'm not
I've
as
always-
big of like a cult fan of it as most people are.
Honestly, I've always kind of thought it was a little overrated. I don't think it's that good. It's okay, but it's not like, I don't know. It's kind of like the Breakfast Club. It's the same thing. Like Breakfast Club is like, it's all right. It's not, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really my thing. Like it's
Yeah.
everybody else's thing. That's cool. But
yeah,
not
that's
my
fine.
thing. Anyways, so this show, we're going to do the 2017 Fantasy Yearbook Edition. We're going to name off a few superlatives, kind of like, I don't know, was it Jimmy Fallon that does that? Where he does like most likely to succeed. He does all the funny ones in NFL. We're going to do serious ones for the NFL fantasy season. We have 3 topics that we each chose a player, and then the 4th is going to be a wild card. So that is what we're going to do. We kind of already babbled a little bit about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So you guys want to get right into it?
yeah.
Get it.
Let's
Get right
do it.
into it.
So the first question, or the first, I guess, award is the player most likely to ruin your fantasy team. So it's kind of a bad thing. You don't want to win this award. Alex, you want to start us off since you love talking so much?
Absolutely, I do love talking so much. Honestly, when I was looking at this this question, I was kind of thinking, okay, what player is going to be somebody? It's got to be somebody that's right at the beginning of the draft, okay? Because most leagues have a snake draft, so that first player is extremely important because they're not going to get another player until swinging back into the maybe 23rd or 24th pick. And so when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at Ezekiel Elliott. And it's not so much that I think that like he's a bad player or anything like that, but we've only seen 1 year, and we've seen countless times where a rookie comes out, explodes, just looks outrageously amazing, goes in the beginning end of the draft. The problem is that once you get into the second round, if you're going to be going running back again, it's slim pickings. The second and third round, like the back end of the second round, beginning of the third round, there's not a lot to choose from, and there's definitely not a really good value there. So, the division has gotten a lot better on defense. I'm looking at that as an issue as far as his totals coming down, and I just kind of look at overall that David Johnson. I think aside, I'm not even really talking about injury. I'm just talking about like, his overall, he's got a lot. I don't know. There's something about David
upside.
Johnson. Yeah, exactly. Le'Veon Bell is risky, but that's more risky because of himself than anything else. And then, you're not putting in a whole lot of risk once you get into the back end of that first round, because you could always grab another, really good running back at the beginning of the second round on that turn. So I'm looking at those beginning guys as the biggest problem makers. And of all those guys, the one that doesn't have quite the resume that I feel comfortable with is Ezekiel Elliott.
Sure. And Brent, you've been real big on the Elliott train this year. Do you disagree with that, or do you think there's some validity in what Alex is saying?
There clearly is. I mean, you saw what he did last year, and I think teams are going to concentrate on him a little more, even with Dak Prescott. I don't think that Prescott's going to match his totals of last year. I don't even think Zeke's going to match his totals of last year, just because people are going to be concentrating on those two guys. And sophomore slumps, they're real. I mean, defenses figure them out.
Right.
Todd Gurley is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I
I think that was a little different just based on such a weak offensive team other than that one player.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just saying that, but he was kind of that. He was kind of that player last year. You know, people were taking him, first or second. You know, like he was a top pick. And the fact is that when you get that guy that doesn't perform to what you're kind of dead in the water, because if you're in a snake and you come back around, you're getting a Mark Ingram type player. You know, so I mean that's kind of the problem with those getting those top players, because history kind of shows it's 50-50 in the first round, which is a scary thought. Like your picks are, you're 50-50 on getting somebody that's going to produce for you.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely of those top players. So good job, Alex. Brent, who's your player?
I think the guy that could ruin your fantasy team this year is Michael Thomas.
Okay.
Ooh.
Really?
He's going so early.
That's true.
That I think that could end up ruining your team with all the different targets that Drew Brees likes to throw to. Michael Thomas, I think I'm going to totally just counteract every point that I have here in everything I say. But he's such a safe pick there, but he could also ruin your team.
Sure.
It could be a huge upside, but at the same time, he could really screw you over just because Brees spreads the ball around so much in that New Orleans offense.
But is he really for where he's going now? He's not, even if he has a great season, that's not really a value pick. So you're not even getting, I don't see it as that you're getting this amazing player at where you're getting it. You're actually, I think there's more risk involved than anything else, to be completely honest, for how high he's going.
But you also have to realize that the guys that they lost in that offense, there's that many more targets opened up. And I think that slightly outweighs because you have the volume and opportunity, and you saw what Michael Thomas could do, especially in the red zone. He seemed to be Drew Brees' favorite target by the end of the season. So you see that opportunity and more volume now that Brandon Cooks is gone out of that offense. They bring in Ted Ginn, but you still see there's a lot of targets to go around, and Michael Thomas could be the beneficiary of that. That's why he's going so early. But that could also go to someone else in that offense. You just don't know.
I do if there's one thing to be said about Michael Thomas is the fact that they let Cooks go and traded him.
Yeah,
says a lot about what they think about Thomas, regardless of how they're going to spread it out. They feel that he is good enough to handle that load. So right. I mean, I think that's one thing that you can say about him, because you don't get rid of a guy, that in one play could get you 97 yards and a touchdown if you don't think that the guy behind him is just as good, if not better.
And that's kind of what worries me with him going so high in drafts. I mean, I've seen him go as high as the top 9-10 pick in the first round.
Which is crazy.
That's scary.
And even on the turn, I almost think he's more value, probably mid-second round to late second round, but he's going so high because of that value, or not the value, but the opportunity.
His upside is huge.
Oh, yeah, his upside.
But
am I wrong? Sorry. Am I wrong to say that I'm looking at Colson's numbers. Now, I understand that, when Graham was there, Graham was, getting all those targets, and they don't really have a tight end to speak of. But I mean, the last time that they had somebody that was like a true number one was Colston in 2012. He had 83 catches for a little over 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. So I mean, it's been 5 years. So I mean, do you see him as the Colston, or do you see him as because honestly, Graham was better than that. Do you see him as the Graham of the offense?
It's hard to say. It's that offense. You just don't know for sure. I mean, if you were looking at just physical ability, he looks like the Colston role. So I don't know.
There's no way you could ever get me to spend a first-round pick on him. There's no way I would do it. say
No, I
like
couldn't
he
do it either.
fell to mid-second, I think that I could, but I would really want to probably reach up a little bit and grab Willie Snead if I was going to take him, because I think that if Michael Thomas fails, it's because Willie Snead is blowing up.
But honestly, though, you think about that, like, okay, I don't think that it would be Michael Thomas failing and Willie Snead all of a sudden is the number one. I think it would be Michael Thomas being a little bit more mediocre and then Willie Snead continuing to be mediocre.
Okay, so what I feel like is if defenses key more in on Michael Thomas, it opens up more for Willie Snead.
Yeah, but you know how hard it would be week in and week out to if you had those two guys. Like, are you saying that you would bench Thomas for Willie Snead?
Oh no.
So why would you reach to get Willie Snead then?
Not
So
necessarily on the same
reaching
team, but
in reaching, I mean like the 6th round, which maybe is not a reach to some people.
Am I misunderstanding that if you had Michael Thomas, you would reach for Snead?
Yes, I would want them both on my team.
I
would not.
You don't think
I don't understand why you would.
I think you're locking in. Well, with as good as New Orleans pass offense has been, like I feel like if people are keying in on trying to stop Michael Thomas, then that means that Willie Snead is going to be seeing a lot because they're going to be throwing.
You're assuming that means you're starting both guys.
Yeah, I would start Michael Thomas and Willie Snead.
For instance, I did that last year. I had Michael Thomas and Brandon Cooks, but it was justified because Brandon Cooks was more of a big play threat. I don't see Willie Snead as being a big play kind of guy. He's more of a possession type guy that moves the chains. So is Michael Thomas, but he's just a bigger version of Willie Snead.
We saw somebody do Cooper and Crabtree, and that did not work out. Like wide receivers, that very rarely works out because you even in the best offense, it's hot hand. So in Green Bay, you didn't know who was going to blow up. So let's say you had Adams and Nelson, you played them both. Well, that's great. This one got 2 catches for 25 yards, then the other one got 110 yards. Like, I'd rather have 2 guys that are going to get 110 yards, not one guy that's going to be terrible. And then
all guys that could get 110 yards.
Well, but what I'm saying is that I don't understand why you want to reach to get Willie Snead to have 2 guys on the same team.
Reaching was probably the wrong word. I don't want to reach too much, but I would want to make sure I get him. Like, I wouldn't mind if you reach 4th round.
If you reach for Willie Snead, he'll ruin your fantasy team.
Well, there you go. So, enough Michael Thomas talk. Van Cleve, who's your player that's going to ruin fantasy teams across the nation?
I'm going with the hot name, Odell Beckham Jr.
Oh.
Ooh.
I
can understand that.
I think he's going to go full on diva this year. And I think that he's going to get in his head. I think he's going to be more mental, where it's more mental breakdowns. I also see him losing more targets because Brandon Marshall, especially red zone targets, since Brandon Marshall is going to be there. I don't see him being the force that he was, where people are scared of him. I think since Brandon Marshall's there, so that may open up things for him. But I really just think that it's going to take away targets from him. And I really think that with this whole drama swirling already, talks about him, I just think that he's just going to break down. And I don't think he's going to be the same player this year as he is in years past. He was inconsistent last year. I think he's going to be inconsistent this year. And I think that Eli's going to be looking for Brandon Marshall to sprout the ball.
You look at I completely understand where you're coming from on this. And a lot of it has to do with just the fact that, you take away a few of those games, and he was kind of average last year. There were a few games where he was just absolutely insane. But of all the players in the NFL right now, he seems like the one that is the least even keeled right now. He just, like, the whole thing with the net, and then after that, like he made big scenes about it constantly, like hugging it and stuff. It's just like, okay, dude, all right. Like, I like showboating and stuff like that. I like that kind of stuff. But he just was just seeking attention.
Way too far.
Yeah, it was just stupid.
And that's why I'm saying he's going to be a full-on diva. I think he's too volatile. I think that how high so he's going to be a fantasy asset. Don't get me wrong. But how high people are drafting him, I would just be scared because I would feel that you're not going to get your ROI on him.
Yeah. I hope that other people agree with you because I'm still fine taking. I just love his big play upside. I love that he can take a slant pass and take it all the way down and score it. Like I think that he's a big play receiver.
I think here's the problem.
Example, big play receiver. I'd rather have, and we had this discussion on the earlier podcast.
I know where you're going.
I'd rather take Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Mike Evans over top.
Mike Evans, and that's the big one to me. Like, and that's the thing is that people are going to be taking Odell Beckham over Mike Evans, and I think that's a mistake. Yeah. I think that Mike Evans is going to be he may not finish like if Odell ends up being Odell of like what he normally is. I think that he might still end up with more yards than Mike Evans, but Mike Evans is just much more consistent, and he might even get a lot more receptions. So I completely agree with Van Cleve on this one. Yeah.
I mean, I think that Mike Evans is probably a slightly better talent than Odell Beckham is even. So I'm fine with that, but I'm also okay if Beckham falls to like the 8th or 9th pick. I think that's great. I'd be fine with it. But if somebody's like reaching up there and taking Beckham 1, 2, or 3, I wouldn't be doing that. And I know there's people that are all on it. But
I'm totally fine with people doing that because then that means that those running backs are falling to me. Like, yeah.
There's no way I draft any of those wide receivers over Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson probably. I could maybe be convinced over Zeke for reasons that we talked about earlier. But, all right, well, I kind of went a different way. I know you guys are all picking like these huge names. I kind of went a different route. I think that the player most likely to ruin your fantasy team this year could be Aaron Rodgers. And maybe not for the reasons that you think. Like, I think that Aaron Rodgers could still finish the year as the number 1 overall quarterback. But the way that you build your team, I think, could be significantly altered by your selection of Aaron Rodgers. I worry if somebody's reaching up there in the 2nd, 3rd round and taking him because, like Alex, we've talked about, like when you're looking at those names and there's nobody you like, it's easy to just give me the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
But that changes the way that you draft for the rest of your draft.
Absolutely, it does.
And a lot of times I see when people get finished with it and you look back at their team, they're like, oh, I wish I had a better wide receiver too. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I had a little more depth at running back. I feel like, at least me, when I'm drafting this year, I'm going to be constantly reminding myself that people are taking Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, all these guys in the 10th, 11th, 12th round, and remind myself that those guys are going to be there. So there's no reason for me to take Aaron Rodgers in the 3rd round over like a Doug Baldwin even, or somebody like that I might not think is nearly as talented. But
I'm hoping they do. Like it gives me better players than to build my roster around.
I found myself doing it a lot last year, though.
It's all about supply and demand. There's too many quarterbacks, good quarterbacks that you can take much later and get a better value out of them.
Even in our mock draft we just did, I took Marcus Mariota with our final pick.
Yeah.
Like he was the number 1 fantasy quarterback from week 5 to week 12 last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that most leagues, just start 1 quarterback. And so, in a typical 12-team league, you're only taking 12 of 32. So, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks to choose from. And it is, I took Aaron Rodgers. Was that the 2nd round on my 3rd team?
Yep.
3rd round? 3rd round? Okay. Whichever.
16th overall.
16th,
no,
okay.
it was 2nd.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, and the thing is that completely screwed up the entire draft on that side of the ball because the problem was that, I was thinking, okay, I don't feel comfortable with Jordan Howard, so I need to make up for those points. And that's the wrong way to go. Making up those points by grabbing the best player in the least important category is not the way that you make up for those points. You try to, if you have a guy like Jordan Howard, and you're not really comfortable with them, that means that, after you maybe grab your 2nd running back and you grab a few wide receivers, you load up on the back end of your draft and hope for one of those guys to come up. You don't want to grab somebody like Aaron Rodgers that early.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like you said, there's a handful of guys, like plenty of guys that you could have taken for him because in that draft, you actually took Travis Kelce with your 3rd pick, which I think that people reaching on tight ends may be a little
Yep.
of the same thing this year. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Well, let's move it on to our second one. The player most likely to have a comeback fantasy season this year. Brent, why don't you lead us off?
I mean, there's a couple guys that I think that could. I was going to go Rob Gronkowski, but I think that's just too obvious. He's already the number one tight end pre-rank this year too. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go a different route. I'll go Lamar Miller.
Okay.
He had so much. He had so much volume last year, but he just couldn't seem to get it going. So I think this year they've got the offensive line. They had one guy last year that was one of the top run blockers. He was out almost all last season. So I think him returning this year is going to help a lot, actually. And he doesn't have much competition behind him. I know they drafted Foreman, but I just think that Lamar Miller's going to get it done this year.
Did you see that Foreman showed up to the rookie camp overweight?
Yeah, all rookies do.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
Some of those top running back rookies are visiting teams all the time. They're not working out. They're traveling all the time.
They still don't show up.
Rookies show up to camp out of weight.
I'm going to have to piggyback because I also chose Lamar Miller.
All right, let's tag team.
He saw his yards per carry dip last year. He was kind of staying around 5 or 4.5, and last year he was down all the way to 4. And that's almost like the equator or prime meridian of what makes a player. That's average. 4 is average. If you're less than that, you're not a very good running back. If you're more than that, you're a pretty good running back. So, I think second year in the system, I think that you could grab a child playing a pickup football game out in the street. He's going to be better than Osweiler. So the fact that he was able to get 1,000 yards, the fact that he was able to get 4 yards per carry, shows that he's going to be, a force. And now another thing is that hopefully he'll be more involved in the passing game, because last year was one of the worst years he's had in the passing game. So, there's a lot of upside, especially the fact that you could probably get him in the beginning of the second, middle of the second, whereas last year he was going in the first round.
Yep.
Right. And like you said, being involved in the passing game, if they start, even if they start Savage, I was going to say Watson, but I feel like those guys are going to have to rely on those dump offs. So that's what you want to see, is him getting that and getting out in the open field. But I'm hoping to say on that Foreman thing, I actually hope that Foreman is able to get in there and take a little bit of the stress off of Lamar Miller having to run, 25, 30 times a game. It's just, they break down a lot faster. Running backs can't take that kind of beating anymore. It's hard on them. So last year he had garbage behind him. So,
I mean, the Texans run the ball just about more than any other team in the league. And they've been a top 5 rushing volume team the last, since Bill O'Brien has been coach. So I'm completely confident that Lamar Miller is going to get volume still. I just think he'll do more with those touches.
Yep, I like it. Van Cleve, who's your player?
I'm going with my boy Todd Gurley.
All right.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well.
I know it's somewhat kind of obvious because he didn't have his sophomore slump, but I think with getting Sean McVay in there, who was the Redskins offensive coordinator, and you can see what he did for the passing game for the Redskins. I really hope that he can bring that to the Rams, because if they can open up that passing game, that's just going to make the running game so much easier on Gurley. And I just think that he can be able to come back and actually use his talent, and he doesn't have to fight a stacked box all the time. They did bring in some wide receivers through the draft that I think would I hope that would help that quarterback. But I just think that with McVay going in there, I think that they'll show some spark in that offense and really get that passing game going to help with that running game and kind of balance it out more. I still think it's not going to be as strong of the passing game, but it's still going to be something that the defense is going to have to honor. And so I think that it's going to help boost that running game.
It can't
Can't
get
be
much
better than last year.
worse.
No, it can't be much worse than last year.
Can't
honestly.
be much worse.
And it kind of made me excited that maybe that they'll get Gurley also more involved in the passing game, which would be a huge asset in the fantasy.
Well, and
See,
we kind
I
of
don't-
saw that a little bit last year, though.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of it, but they also brought in Lance Dunbar, who's a passing down back. So
True.
I really see just maybe he'll probably get as many receptions, or less. I don't think he's going to get more.
I think that one of the things to also look at is you've got to look at value. And the value of Gurley is basically at the end of the second round. You know, last year we were talking about him as either the first or second pick, and now we're talking about him at the back end of the second round. And the fact we know his potential, we know where his ceiling can be. He can be a top back. And so if you're looking at you're going after somebody, let's say you've got David Johnson and you swings all the way back around and you're able to grab Gurley, those two guys theoretically could be, in the top 3, top 5 running backs. So, I mean, that's kind of who I think you're aiming for. If you're one of those teams in the beginning and you are concerned with your running back core before your wide receivers, you're going to grab one of those first few guys, and then you're going to be looking at a guy like Gurley.
I think that where he's going to, you can get great value out of him. He's fallen to the late second to the third. I think that you can still get a good value out of that. You can maybe pick up a top wide receiver and then go around and pick him up. That was done in our draft. There was Antonio Brown and then Todd Gurley back to back. So I think that you can still find good value. He's got the talent there. I think it was just a team around him, and I think that that coaching staff that they had last year, I just think that this new coaching staff is going to put a spark in that offense. I really think that it's going to help out with that running game.
Well, you could be right because I don't know. We all love Todd Gurley. As
I am right.
Well, we'll see. All right. Well, let me give you my player. I didn't go quite as running backy as you guys. Martavis Bryant is my choice.
Ooh, yeah.
He spent a whole year, being suspended.
He did?
Yeah.
I know.
Showed flashes in the first 2 years. I feel like he could be, he could be a wide receiver too, pretty easily. Like, what do you guys think his upside is?
Back end wide receiver 1. I think his upside is there. He doesn't get as many receptions, but I mean, he could take a 90-yarder for a touchdown.
Yeah, he gets touchdowns.
Any play.
I say wide receiver 2.
He's got the size of Demaryius Thomas with the speed of Brandon Cooks. Like
they've added weapons, and him being a year removed from that system. I don't know.
What weapons did they add? I mean,
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay, automatically you might as well cut him. So, I mean, right off the bat, we're throwing Juju out the window because that's not a legitimate wide receiver. He comes from a crap school for wide receivers.
James Conner.
Yeah, he's a running back.
I mean, because okay,
he's a D'Angelo Williams.
Jesse James isn't going to take away from Martavis Bryant. Eli Rogers isn't going to take away from Martavis Bryant.
It's Martavis, by the way.
For crying out loud.
Sorry.
Martavis Brent.
You got hey Bay.
Hey Bay. Is he still there?
Darius Hayward.
He's
Eli
not a legitimate
Rogers.
threat either. That's what I said. Eli Rogers isn't going to take away from Martavis Bryant. Martavis.
I don't know where he's really going in drafts. Like in ours, I think he went pretty late, didn't he? I know he's not going in those first, 8 rounds. So if you're getting him in the 9th to 14th round, that's huge. I think there's huge upside.
There's nothing but upside there. Like if you can get him late enough, there's nothing. Like there's no. You don't have to worry about his floor. You just have to, hope for his ceiling.
Martavis Bryant went in the 6th round of our 12-team PPR.
So he went a little bit earlier.
It's like right around there. That's where you're still hoping he's going to give you some return. If you can get him later, if he falls into, maybe 7th, 8th round, and you're looking at him as a backup, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, you took him as your 3rd wide receiver, Alex, actually. So
depending on the league, I mean, that's not bad. Still.
He went before Kelvin Benjamin, before Dante Moncrief.
Everybody should go before Kelvin Benjamin right now. Kelvin Benjamin, oh my God.
I saw him make a one-handed catch on Twitter. So
he was standing still probably because he can't run. He's too fat.
He looks
like
athletic.
Stick to his chest.
It's not fat. It's all muscle milk.
Oh God.
This guy's ripped.
He looked pretty terrible.
He's a beefcake now.
All right.
Yeah, beefcake. Yeah.
Let's move it to our 3rd question here. I want to know who is your your 4th to 7th round rookie that's most likely to finish top 10 at their position? Van Cleve, who do you got?
I'm
He's not ready.
No, I am actually
shooting from the hip on this one.
I am actually prepared for this one. I just had to pull it up. Joe Williams from 49ers.
Like it.
Yeah.
I really think that I think Shanahan loves him so much. I think that he's no matter what,
fucking loves him.
No matter what, like Carlos Hyde does, I just think he's going to love Joe Williams so much. He's just going to start him, and he's eventually going to become the starter.
Invites him over for dinner. Everything.
Yes.
Loves him.
Lets him hang out.
Snuggles him at night.
It's
weird.
It's the oddest little thing. I can't get it, but no, I really think that 210, 5'11". I mean, he's somewhat of a smaller prototypical back, but I think that in Shanahan's system, I think it is perfect for him. He likes that pass catching back. He likes that guy who can go out of the backfield, and if he can block for it, I think he has legit started because Hyde is a kind of a bruiser, kind of a back, and he's obviously injury prone with that. And I think that there was a report today, and I don't know how accurate this is, but he was the slowest running back out there. He wasn't picking up Shanahan's system, because he did come from a Kelly system, so he has to learn a new system, which I get that. But there was reports that him not picking it up and stuff. So I think Joe Williams is anything that Carlos Hyde doesn't do good. I think that it's going to just diminish his role, and Joe Williams is just going to take a bigger role in that offense.
Honestly, if he is having trouble picking up Shanahan's system, then I think there's something else wrong with that, because Kelly's was kind of more convoluted, and there's a lot of stuff and high speed. So you would think that he would be the fastest guy because he's there, and you would think that it would be a simpler system. So the fact that he's not picking it up is very worrisome. And I think the fact that he is undoubtedly going to get hurt, he's going to open up the opportunity for him anyway.
Yeah, I just think that he's got that injury risk that it's going to allow Joe Williams that door. And I think that if he has somewhat of a good start, I think he's got the job then. I just think, unless he totally just blows it,
And also, just to piggyback, my pick was also Joe Williams. So I just looking at it, and I've talked about it before, I feel like of guys picked later in the draft, he has the clearest path to immediate playing time. He's competing with Tim Hightower, who's 90. He's got Capri Bibbs, who was pretty, terrible. But
wait.
Sorry, I know you love Capri Bibbs.
He was not terrible.
He was bad enough that Denver let him go. So
well, he got hurt. He looked good, but then
you're
he got
right.
hurt.
They probably should have kept him, huh?
They should have.
I feel like Joe Williams is one of those guys that if he has a good camp and he gets in there in preseason and shows flashes that he's able to pick up that system, it's not going to take very long for him to start eating into Carlos Hyde's time. And then the first moment that Carlos Hyde gets injured or has multiple fumbles in a game or does something stupid, I feel like that's going to open it up for Joe Williams. So if you're picking a running back later in your draft, even if you don't have Carlos Hyde, I feel like Joe Williams is one of those guys that you can go out there and get and feel good about it.
Yep.
Not to throw shade on this, because I also agree with everything you guys are saying, but with Joe Williams, though, I I know the reports are out there and his hype is building, but I feel like a lot of that hype was based on the one reporter that was in the draft room with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and how Kyle Shanahan just pounded his hand on the table like, I want Joe Williams. Go get him. Like, and I feel like the hype is just surrounding that. Like, this is Shanahan's guy. He wanted him. He handpicked him. John Lynch didn't want him. Like, now all of a sudden everybody has hailed Joe Williams as the successor to Carlos Hyde now.
Agree.
I agree there's opportunity there too. But I almost feel like the hype is just almost solely based off of what happened in that draft room.
I mean, you could be right.
It was Peter King, so I mean,
right.
But
who's to say that doesn't happen in all the other draft rooms too? And we just
but Brent, you also got to look at it, though, that it was a guy that had question marks all around him, and who got to tell his story, get out there as to why he did what he did. I think that it has all the makings of that guy that could overcome,
like the next 30 for 30.
Yeah, he could be a 30 for 30 easily. I would watch it. I don't know.
All he needs is one good game.
Brent, give me your guy then.
Well, my guy is I'm going to go with another rookie running back selected in the 4th round, Jamal Williams.
Boom, piggyback.
I'm not entirely sold on Ty Montgomery. Like, the guy has been injury prone in the past. He's switching positions. There's a lot of negative things to go around Ty Montgomery. There's also a lot of positive things, but I feel like when they draft 3 running backs, they don't entirely trust their running back core. They released Christian Michael. I mean, everything is set up for Jamal Williams to take over this position if he does well. I get it. They trust Ty Montgomery, but I just think there's a lot of opportunity for Jamal Williams to overtake Ty Montgomery.
I'm gonna take it one step further. I'm gonna say they don't trust Ty Montgomery, and the reason is that how many running backs did they rotate in there, and not one of them truly took over the job. And I think that you look at that, and you look at the players that are still there. Right now there is not a clear cut. Okay, yes, you are the starting running back for this team, and I think that it's even easier for Jamal Williams to walk into the starting role than it is for Joe Williams.
You think so?
Absolutely, because like Carlos Hyde, when healthy, when running, has success. Montgomery had a couple of games that honestly seemed a little fluky to me more than anything else, and there's just something about him that just doesn't read running back to me. And so I don't love him there anyway.
I would agree with that, Alex. I think that Jamal Williams has a clearer chance than Joe Williams does because Carlos Hyde does have talent and he has more talent than Ty Montgomery. And you're right. It was a carousel last year, and I think that they drafted multiple running backs this year because they want to see what running backs they can get because they don't trust Ty Montgomery. Mm-hmm. And he was a wide receiver, he turned running back, and it's great that he can play multiple positions. But does he have the vision necessarily like of running backs that he should have? When he was he was training as a wide receiver, I don't think he does, and so I think that's why he may struggle as a running back because he doesn't have the vision or maybe the blocking techniques that a prototypical running back has.
I mean, he was a running back before he was a wide receiver, though.
But when was he? Was he a running back all of college?
No, not in the NFL. It was back in his high school and early college days before he made a transition to wide receiver, and that's how he was drafted.
I understand going from a running back to a wide receiver because I think that's a little bit easier. But transitioning from even the fact that he used to be a running back, transitioning from a wide receiver to a running back seems a little bit harder to me because you need to get that vision. You need to be picking up more blocking schemes and things like that. Like there's just it seems like there's more going on, whereas the wide receiver it's a little bit more planned out.
Yeah, because for a running back, you have to be able to point out the blitz, where his blitz is coming from, to be able to pick up that for the quarterback, especially with where the linebacker may go and which hole he may go into. So I think that there's more for a running back that he has to be prepared for than it is a wide receiver.
Yeah, because you're blocking cornerbacks and maybe an occasional safety when you're a wide receiver, and you're not even blocking them that well. You're switching over to a running back, and you're blocking, guys that are 250 to 300 pounds. Like I mean, it's
even have the vision to run in between the tackles. When being patient enough to run through, wait for your blocks to progress. Wait for your guards to maybe pull and get up to the middle linebacker, then for you to run through the hole. It takes a little bit more of practice and a little bit more. I'd say he may, since he had a year under his belt, that he picked that up. But it's just harder of a transition going from there. Wide receiver to running back.
He kind of reminds me of what happened with James Starks at the end of James Starks' rookie year. Like, he came on at the end of the year. It looked like he was really good, but at the same time, you never really had a sense that he was really the guy, and he never has been the guy. He's been a great backup fill-in player. That, to me, is what Montgomery is. He's kind of the change of pace. I don't think that he's the main guy.
But do you think that's more of like a smokescreen because of the Aaron Rodgers and that offense being so pass happy? Like, they don't even seem to want to run the ball. They would rather pass the ball.
Yeah, but when they had
Lacey, 40 yards, whatever.
But when they had Lacey, though, when Lacey was actually producing, for 2 years, he actually so they had a running game. And maybe that's why they're struggling so much these past 2 years, is because they don't have a running game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because Lacey is being was what?
You say struggling? Because they made the NFC Championship game, didn't they?
I mean, but like, they weren't strong this year. Like, it's
kind
of the same thing.
One-sided, though, Brent, is what I'm trying to get at. They were stronger when they were more balanced. And, think about all the stuff that was going on with Aaron Rodgers came out with relax, and then last year they were criticizing him because the offense wasn't really clicking. There was a lot of downside to what they've done in previous years, and so I understand that they made the championship game, and that was all on Rodgers. They had no running game. That was literally Rodgers making plays out of his ass, that because only Rodgers could do. No other quarterback could do that. So I think if they had a running game like they did, they were more balanced.
I mean, let's face it. Like, at one point, they were on a 4-game losing streak. They were 4-6. They weren't doing well. I mean, they finished strong, but they weren't a good team last year. Yes, they made the NFC Championship game. I understand that, but they weren't a strong team. And you see the same thing coming out of, like with the Giants. They have not been a good running team, and they have not been very successful. And I think that there are those teams that they're missing that vital part of their game, and I think they're still struggling to try to fix that.
Well, kind of circling back to Jamal Williams on this subject, does Green Bay even have, other than Ty Montgomery, another running back that's not a rookie on their depth chart?
I don't think so.
I don't think they do. I think it's literally all rookies and Ty Montgomery.
Yeah.
I kind of like Jamal. I like him better now. Like, I didn't know that.
Yes, we did it, Alex.
Woo!
And
Congratulations,
you too,
guys.
BC.
Is there any chance, and this is kind of where I was going with it, is there any chance that Aaron Jones maybe is something?
It's possible. You could have kind of a situation. Well, think about what happened in Cleveland a few years ago with Crowell and Terrence West. I mean, everybody had Terrence West. He's going to be the guy, and then all of a sudden, Crowell came out of nowhere.
I could see Aaron Jones possibly taking over that role. There was a lot of articles about him being a possible sleeper. So I could see if I don't know how Jamal Williams, if he can be able to pull it up, but I think if Jamal Williams struggles and Aaron Jones gets an opportunity, I think there's a possibility he can take over.
I feel
Aaron
like
Jones is a little bit
either,
smaller, isn't he?
Yeah. If either one of them flashed like in preseason or, did something that set themselves apart, like I would just be hoping that, I think Jamal Williams will probably get the first shot at it. And if he doesnn't disappoint, then it's probably going to be his job to take from Ty Montgomery, because I don't think it's going to be that hard to take it from him. Like, for all the reasons that you guys have already said, I think that it is there to be taken. So
I mean, so they basically got taken back-to-back rounds. Jamal Williams got in the 4th, and then Aaron Jones in the 5th. I mean, Jamal Williams is 6 foot, 212, and I think Aaron Jones was 5'9", 210. I think.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
So I mean, Jamal Williams has a little bit of height on him.
Yeah, so I mean,
I would like it better if Jamal Williams was like 220.
Yeah,
sure.
I think it'd be more of a prototype back where you could take the workload more. Yeah, and you can maybe see, and maybe who knows, maybe they'll be splitting. Maybe something is where they split where one's a third down back, one takes the third down. I don't know.
Sure. Yep. All right. Well, let's split this off into our last question, which is kind of like a free for all. Like, we are each going to pick our own category, and we'll give the name, and then you guys can, I don't know, just chime in, see if there's a player that jumps out at you that you want to talk about. I'm gonna read mine first, so you guys can't steal it. But I chose which quarterback is most likely to let down his wide receivers this year, and I chose Drew Brees because I'm worried about him. Like, we kind of showed it the year before with the injuries with his elbow or whatever he had hurt. There's a time where quarterbacks fall off. Drew Brees is a gunslinger. He throws the ball all the time. We've already talked about that. You're reaching up there and taking Michael Thomas. You're going to draft Willie Snead in the 6th to 8th round. There's guys that are going to be drafted as starters for your fantasy team. Do you see a scenario where Drew Brees does let down those wide receivers, and it's actually his fault that they don't produce the way that they should?
That's a hot take.
Hot takes.
I don't know if it's so much that he would be letting down those players. However, that New Orleans system is so spread out that if he isn't as good, if he isn't throwing, in the what does he usually do? Mid 4,000s, somewhere around there. If he's not hitting that means that spreading around the ball, every wide receiver is being hurt by that. So that is possible. At some point in time, Drew Brees has to start trailing off. And at this point in time, when you're drafting him, and he's going to still be going high. But I'm not sure exactly where, but, I wouldn't be shocked if I saw him going in the 5th or 6th round still.
Oh, yeah,
know?
easily. I think that's where it's probably going.
So if you're drafting a guy like that and he ends up pulling up a little bit short, I don't necessarily think that it's going to be huge per receiver, but it could hurt his individual stock.
Sure. You don't think that he could hurt his wide receivers, though?
I don't know. They just spread it around so much that I think that if it trailed off a little bit, you'd only see a small amount. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same. Like, whereas with Peyton Manning, you saw a huge dip for, like Demaryius and Emmanuel. Those are only 2 guys. Well, New Orleans is going to spread out to 4 or 5 guys. So,
right. And I mean, Peyton had those degenerative problems before, and you hadn't really seen that from Brees. So
yeah.
All right. Well, Alex, go ahead and give us yours.
Guys, I'm going to be straight with you. There is a significant issue, and that is Romine's love. What player will Romine hurt because of his love? Now let me give you some proof. All right, we got Lamar Miller, 2015. His total rushing receiving yards. He was 241 touches to a little over to almost 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. Romine shows him love. 299 touches for almost the same amount of yardage, but 6 touchdowns, 4 less than he had that year, and also 4.0 yards per carry as opposed to 4.5. Then we got Kamar Aiken, 2015, 75 yards, 944 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Romine shows him love, 29 catches, 328 yards, 1 touchdown.
Terrible.
Torrey Smith, 2015, 33 catches, 663 yards, 4 touchdowns. Romine shows him love, 20 catches, 267 yards, 3 touchdowns. Reuben Randall, 2015, 57 receptions, 797 yards, 8 touchdowns. Romine shows him love, does not play.
Oh, that one hurts right here. That
Guys,
hurts my heart.
Is this
Isaiah Crowell.
It's all
Isaiah Crowell will not accomplish what you think is going to be accomplished because Romine showed him love.
So would you say it's a curse at this point?
It's a curse. It's a curse.
Romine, I think it's weird,
go,
but I kind of want to change my stance on Isaiah Crowell now.
Well, listen, I wanted to throw out some love to Tom Brady this year, who I think is probably going to be the number one quarterback in the NFL.
No, you don't feel it. You don't feel it. You don't feel it. When you feel it, when you feel it in your heart, that's when you murder players' dreams.
Is this the player most likely hurt by Romine's touch?
This is the player that Romine's love will ruin. Isaiah Crowell.
You know, I kind of love that, Alex. I'm proud of you. You put some time into this.
Thank you.
Showed some effort.
I did. I've been thinking about it all day. Thinking about it all day.
And unfortunately, Romine is going to no longer play fantasy football ever again.
We all know that's not going to happen. So I will continue to suck at fantasy football in the Pride League and win everything else. So let's move on. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm seeing like Isaiah Crowell like just falling apart this year. 427 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. Brent, what's your award?
Team most likely to be the worst in receiving yards this season.
Okay.
Teams to maybe avoid drafting wide receivers from.
Okay.
And this is kind of, I was talking a few days ago about this, but I think each of us should choose a team and we'll reevaluate after the season's over. But so here are the teams available. We've got the LA Rams.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Chicago Bears. We've got the New York Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go with I guess it's a wild card for the second one. Either the Chiefs or the 49ers. They all have terrible quarterbacks. I think they all have wide receivers that aren't necessarily that number one wide receiver. You can't really pinpoint a guy other than maybe the Chiefs with Macklin, but that's not saying much. So believe it or not, like I'm trying to think of a team worse that could be worse than the Bears this year, and I can't. It's so terrible.
Honestly, I have as soon as you said this, I said, "Oh, it's the Jets."
So
the Jets have nothing.
Right, the Jets have nothing. They really don't.
They have Christian Hackenberg.
Oh my God!
I'm actually going to choose the Chicago Bears, this very, very shitty team with a shitty quarterback, shitty wide receivers, shitty defense.
Hey, listen,
everything. So I'm going to take Chicago. Who do you guys want?
Yeah, I'm Jets. 100%.
Taking the Jets. Van Cleef, you want to go before me?
No, go ahead.
I'll take the 49ers. After showing Torrey Smith so much love this last year, Pierre Garçon is going to be my Torrey Smith this year.
So you've got the LA Rams or the
Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs. Which one would you like to be the worst in fantasy football?
I think either one of those could be sneaky.
Receiving yardage.
Should have spoke up a little bit sooner, VC.
Or if you think there's another team out there, like the Vikings, or someone that you think could be the worst in receiving yardage this year. Teams to avoid those wide receivers, maybe.
Just because I'm hoping because Tyler Gurley bounces back, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs.
There you go.
Because they never pick. Good.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, but Kansas City's got Macklin, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey. They have players.
They probably have the most talented receiver.
Yeah. They just have the least talented quarterback.
But they're so mediocre that he averages 200 yards a game passing.
God, so bad.
It's true.
It all goes to one person usually.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, I like it, Brent. We'll see how that plays out. Van Cleef, what do you got?
I want to go with a player most likely being cut before day one.
Oh, love it.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh.
And
Like, are we talking about like a legitimate, like a starter, or what do we?
Well, I wanted, like, my hot take was Latavius Murray.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But I don't think that they will because they don't
guarantee him too much money.
They guarantee him too much money, and they don't have anything else behind Dalvin Cook. That was my initial hot take. Obvious answer would be like Brock Lobster or something like that. You know what? I'm going to stick with Latavius Murray as my hot take.
I like it
because
they
drafted Dalvin Cook. They do have McKinney still behind there. Asiata is gone though.
McKinney's
there. No,
McKinney's there.
McKinnon's there. I said Asiata is gone.
Oh yeah, okay.
Asiata's gone. But I think that with drafting Dalvin Cook so high as they did, I think that obviously they're not high on Latavius Murray, and that's why. I mean, they didn't pay him much, but they paid him enough to stick around for this year.
Yeah.
But with my hot take,
guaranteed, yeah.
But they were also went out and gave up a first round for Sam Bradford. So if they think that they have enough in Dalvin Cook, I mean, I wouldn't see why they wouldn't keep Murray around. But I don't know.
I'm going to take Matt Forte.
Ooh,
I like it.
He only signed, a 2 or 3 year deal? So, I mean, I think most of the guaranteed money was up front anyway.
But who else do they have?
Bilal Powell, who was way better than him all year last year.
Who else do they have?
They don't need anyone else. Just Bilal Powell.
No, you were still hung up on him from last year.
Oh man,
I didn't even have him on any team last year.
You loved him
you talked him up though. You did.
I sure did, and look what he did.
Nothing.
Yeah, at the end of the season,
when they finally gave him every touch.
We'll see. If he
can do it this year.
Who do you want me to give some love to?
Just give him that little touch on the side of the face. Like, just touch him.
Who?
Bilal Powell.
Okay, so funny story.
Do you want him to do bad?
when we were talking mid to late round, when I just thought it was regular players, Bilal Powell was almost who I was going to choose to finish top 10 at their position.
There you go. I love it.
Bilal Powell.
If that makes you feel any better or worse. So
he's my Isaiah Crowell.
Do you guys have any players that you think they'll be cut before the day one start?
I've got here's my hot take. Either AP or Mark Ingram will be cut.
That was my
second
next
option.
one.
Yep.
But I was about expanded it to being cut or traded because then I would have said Mark Ingram was my first guy.
Yeah, I just think that they got Kamara. They're not a run heavy team. It seems like it's almost crowded in mediocrity right now. And one of those guys can go. Like, I don't think that they really love – I mean, they obviously don't love Mark Ingram. I think they're almost moving on from Mark Ingram. Essentially, they got AP to kind of spell, and maybe, they can see what they've got at Kamara.
I really think that – I mean, I'm losing stock on Mark Ingram, and I'm gaining stock on Adrian Peterson. I just think they brought Adrian Peterson in to do something with this offense because Mark Ingram can't, or they don't like him or something. Like, even last year, I think Sean Payton, he benched Mark Ingram for Tim Hightower in one game.
Yeah.
Just
they
because
don't like
mad
him.
at him, or
they
what?
just,
I don't know
they
what's
just
going
don't
on.
like him. I think that he's just not. He's not a great player. I think that's really what it comes down to. Is that they need a guy like Darren Sproles, Reggie Bush. Which AP is not, but AP is one of the best running backs in our generation. So I think that they're kind of using him to see what they can develop behind him. And I think that's what they're doing.
Listen, I'm gonna do you guys. I'll do you guys all a favor, and I'm gonna stick with my love for Mark Ingram. So I'm sure he'll be god awful this year. If I was gonna give a player just real quick take, Jeremy Hill would be one of my guys towards the top on my list because I could see them getting rid of him and opening up for Joe Mixon, which fingers crossed I hope happens. But that would be my player. So Let's go ahead and wrap this up though. Van Cleve, that was a good one. I'm very proud of you as well
Yeah,
for thinking
yeah.
of something interesting. So
That was very good.
you guys all did
Way
great.
way
I'm so
to
proud of you
go,
all.
Van Cleve. I'm glad that you finally were able to do something right.
I'm glad I
Gosh,
could
Romine, what a dick.
Yeah.
Gold stars.
Don't touch me, Romine.
Don't kiss of death.
All right,
Blow your
well,
Achilles.
we're wrapping this bad boy up. Thanks, guys, for listening. We really appreciate it. We hope that you tune in. I know I've talked to a couple people this week that were excited about our show, loved it. So hopefully they're tuning in this week. And the growers, the volume of listeners keeps growing. But what's not really growing is our Twitter followers. So what we could really use you to do is download Twitter if you don't have it already and follow us at 4 Horsemen Pod. Send us an email.
This newfangled app.
It's crazy. It's pretty neat. So I really think that you'd enjoy it. But get on there, send us a follow, give us a email, get out there, reach out to us. We're here for you. So until next week, peace.
Bomb.